Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the current meta of the game. Most of you will have noticed that, some of you may not notice it as well if you're a new player, but nowadays there is only one effective way of winning, beside playing broken tanks, of course. I'm really talking about stats and strategy here. The main thing about the game is that it's made for Hulldown nearly only. Let me explain to you what I mean. We have several techniques that all tankers are using. Side scraping, Hulldown, you also have the reverse side scraping, you can also circle, etc, etc. But all those strategies, in order for you to be a good player, need to be combined all together depending on the situation. For example, if you're a light tank and you see a mouse, the best way for you to fight against it is probably, if it's in the open, to be able to circle it. If you are side scraping, it's mostly when you're a heavy tank, you're in town and you have a lot of armor. And the list goes on like that. And for the Hulldown, of course, it's if you have a really strong turret. But I feel like all the maps in World of Tanks Blitz are made exclusively for Hulldown. For example, here we're playing on mine. On mine, if the enemies and your team don't go in the town where the cap circle is, the only thing you can do is using your turret and therefore your gun depression, which makes it quite a good map for Hulldown tanks, such as the T62A that we're playing with right now, but not necessarily a good one for other tanks, for example the 50B. And I think that it's not necessarily a problem, but I would like Wargaming to try something different when it comes to map. Why can't they add something that doesn't require that much Hulldown? Because I feel like nowadays, if you really want to win, you just have to play a tank that is excellent in Hulldown. The T62A at tier 10, which is one of the greatest mediums. The Caravan Action 10 at tier 8 when it comes to broken tanks as well, and Hulldown at tier 8. And I don't think it's a problem, don't mind me. I'm not complaining about how Wargaming is ruling their game or implementing maps. They know what they're doing. But the thing is, I would like Wargaming to fight against that just a little bit. Because when you're an experienced player, when you have everything, the game gets kind of boring and you tend to play all the tanks you really love. And as I'm one of them and I play only the tanks I really love, I realized all the tanks I love them because they are good in Hulldown. I don't like them because they have strong side armor. I don't like them because they have huge and crazy mobility ability, you know? No, I like them simply over the fact that they are adapted to the maps they're playing on. Gun depression plus Hulldown equals win in most of the situation, or at least a good game, of course, because you need to take into consideration the fact that you can play with people that are completely bad at this game. Now, is there a way to fight against that beside the maps? There are some. Wargaming actually tried to implement them, but the community refused them, me included. That was the missiles. Of course, when you're in Hulldown and nobody can penetrate you with gold shell, you feel like almighty. If your enemies don't try something else and they stay in front of you, you are gonna smoke them. And that's what happened during this game with the T62A. They all stand behind camping, and I just had to show my turret, sneak my shots, and go back to a safe position, and it allowed me to do quite a good game. But Wargaming tried something with the missiles. Missiles were actually kind of a good counter when it comes to Hulldown positions, because with the missiles you could actually force your opponents that are Hulldowning to relocate. Now that the missiles got removed, don't worry, I'm glad they are removed. I'm not supporting missiles in any way, but I feel like Wargaming should try and dig further into finding a new mechanism. Of course, I can understand that they don't really want to do that, simply because with the missiles it end up with them being removed, that I understand. I feel like Wargaming spent a lot of money on them, but I would be happy to see Wargaming try something else for the game, try to bring up new mechanisms, you know? By the way, guys, if you have any suggestions on what Wargaming could do, feel free to tell us in the comments. Now, there is one last thing that will never be implemented in Blitz, let's be honest, but that allowed Hulldown players to actually relocate, aka artillery. I hate artillery as well, because it's so annoying to get shot from the sky, but I wouldn't be against let's say, an aggressive, let's say like that, an aggressive kind of artillery, an artillery that needs to be on the battlefield with the rest of the teammates and can actually force people into not hull down. For example, not even artillery, but a Type 5 Heavy, the Japanese tank destroyer. This tank has a huge dub. If we had more dub guns, because I want to remind you, dub guns are doing a lot of damage when using HE shells, so you don't need to penetrate your targets. That could be a good alternative for us to be able to fight against those tanks that are outperforming everybody in hull down. For example, here I'm playing with my kind of an Action 10. You're gonna see I'm gonna take a lot of positions that are gonna advantage me, because I'm just gonna hide the whole tank and just show my turret. But if, let's say, I faced kind of a KV2 but at tier 8, maybe that I will not hull down so much and play less aggressively and therefore be less effective on the battlefield. But for that, we need Wargaming to actually implement tanks that are not overpowered, because the last time they implemented a premium KV2, it became one of the most broken tanks in the history of this game, aka the Smasher, for those of you who already forgot that nightmare. So yeah, I feel like we should get... Maybe it's either we have big derp guns that will shoot HE at hull down tanks and therefore force them into changing their playstyle, or we could actually create kind of new tanks that have a really small alpha damage but an incredible penetration, maybe more than 400 millimeters. I'm just giving out ideas right now, guys. I don't know anything about developing games, mechanics, etc, etc, but it's just kind of a research, or what I think we could try to improve the game. Because with those tanks in hull down, if you don't have the HE alpha damage to be able to hurt them enough for them to relocate, or if you don't have the penetration that is enough for you to be able to scare them, what's the point? What's the point? Just play an hull down tank and wreck everything in front of you. Of course, some of you are going to tell me, yeah, Pantoufleee, you know, hull down tanks are not a problem, because you can literally just get good at this game and try other ways for you to counter them. For example, circling, try to get them on the side of the map, maybe try to sneak around and things like that. And I totally agree with you. But let's be honest, the majority of players don't have a fucking clue what they're doing on this game. They don't care about strategy. And therefore, I feel like it's not the job of the player to change the way the game works. It's Wargaming that needs to force things up. I hope you understand what I mean here. But anyway, feel free to tell me in the comments what you think about that. What do you think about the current meta? Do you agree that the main tanks nowadays are tanks that are good in hull down or not? Because it's only my subjective opinion. I'm pretty sure if we take a look at Wargaming stats, maybe it's gonna be totally different. It's just a feeling I have over my experience and recently over the tanks that Wargaming is releasing. For example, the perfect example is basically the Wagon being impossible to penetrate in hull down while angled. So yeah, I feel like it's a balancing, and Wargaming will improve the tanks that need to be improved in the future, of course. But if they could do it soon, that would be great. Anyway, feel free to tell me what you think in the comments, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Au revoir.